Welcome to the Justice Room. Your life, your rights, your options. Experience and learn from discussions with legal professionals and other experts about the law, its challenges, and how it could affect you. Here at the Justice Room. Welcome to the Justice Room.
Let's take the Tiger Woods example. In that situation, you've got a couple who have a very different lifestyle than most of us have.
Right.
I mean, a very large amount of money coming into that household. So the wife in that instance is accustomed to a certain standard of living.
Mm-hmm.
She's used to living in a big house in Islesworth. She's used to being able to take private jets.
Yeah.
She's used to being able to do certain things. That's a great example, although it's an extreme example
Right.
of where you're going to see and in that case, honestly, I don't know that it would matter if they'd only been married 2 years.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you would probably still see some sort of an alimony award.
But with the duration alimony that you referred to, would that come into play with this new law? I mean, if they've only, I don't recall when they got married, so I don't know exactly how long it's been since they've been married. But let's say it's been 5 years. Let's it's just an example. She's accustomed to that way of life. So will the duration alimony be a factor for this new law?
It depends on, and remember that two people can agree on anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Two people can agree that the sky is purple if they want, and the court is going to accept it necessarily. In some cases, like let's take the extreme example of Tiger Woods, I don't think in that situation you're going to see necessarily a periodic alimony type, which would fall into the category of duration alimony or permanent alimony or something or rehabilitative.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're going to see in that case, you're going to see a large amount of money in terms of child support, which is going to go until the children turn 18 or graduate from high school, whichever happens last.
But now, can she get, or just in general, can anybody get both? Can you have child support as a payment and also an established type of alimony as a payment?
Yeah, they're two separate and distinct things.
Okay.
Okay.
So how is this new law going to affect that?
It's not. It's not going to affect your ability to receive child support and alimony at all. Specifically how the two interplay remains to be seen again and how the courts apply the new laws.
Okay, so what is one of the more important details that you think that you want the listeners to know about this new law that's coming into effect? We're talking about the law now that's coming into effect in July 1,
right?
Which is affecting alimony payments.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what do you think is one of the most important details that people need to know?
Well, I think the most important thing is under the new law applies to any divorces that are filed after July 1 or cases that are pending on July 1.
Pending meaning
they've been filed, but there hasn't been a final award. Okay? The second important thing is the law specifically states that alimony is based upon, you go from the date of the marriage to the date of the filing of the petition. So if you're an individual who's going to end up having to pay alimony, for instance, because you believe or my advice is to talk to an attorney to find out if that's something that might end up happening.
Yeah.
It's very important to file for divorce as soon as you realize that the marriage is not going to be reconciled.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a situation where and this happens sometimes, where two people are separated for 10 years and they just no one gets around to filing for divorce. Well, guess what? Even though you've been separated, those 10 years could potentially count towards an alimony award.
Really?
Yes.
So that's all part of this new law that's coming into effect?
Yes.
So that could really hurt somebody's I know of a lot of people that they just didn't have the money, for example, just to go out and hire an attorney to file for divorce. And now you're saying that all those years credit towards this duration type of alimony.
Correct.
Now, would that also have an effect on the rehabilitative?
Possibly. It really honestly depends on, it's a case-by-case basis, and it's very fact-specific, but all those things can be affected.
Okay. Well, I also wanted to talk to you about a new law that's going to be in effect in October, I believe. But what I'd like to do, if we could, because there's is there anything else that you did? We're going to get back to that, probably even record an episode with that. Is there anything else about this new law on alimony because this is so new that I would imagine that there's going to be some issues still being dealt with.
There are, and you know, right now what I'm giving you is what I would call the Cliff Notes version of the new law.
Okay. The new law for dummies, or
you know, I think everybody, not only attorneys but the parties that are dealing with it, the courts, everybody's basically learning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so my comments might be different in 2 months or in a month once I see some of these new laws at play.
Well, we'd definitely like you to come back on the show and talk to us about any of these new laws that we're talking about now and something that may have changed that you think that our listeners need to know about, because that's what this show is all about. It's providing them the information that they need so that they're an educated public. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to thank you for coming on the show and talking to us a little bit about this new law. When is it taking effect?
July 1.
July 1, 2010.
Yes, in reference to the alimony, the child support stuff, and I think, you know, as you stated, we'll probably do a show at some point that deals with the child support. Those changes are very complicated because the statute references, you know, the U.S. Census and all kinds of different things in terms of employment or underemployment and all kinds of different concepts that everybody's still trying to get their hands around what exactly all this means.
And when is that law changing?
That's October 1.
October 1.
Of this year.
Well, I'd like you to definitely come back in and talk about that, because I think that that's going to be a huge impact on people, child support payments and how it's handled in the system. And if there's a new law that we need to talk about to make the people aware of it, I think that it's important. So I really look forward to having you back on the show to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you again for visiting with us here at the Justice Room.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That we have Mr. William Orth on the show from the law offices of William Orth. Why don't you tell the people a little bit of how they can reach you if they have a question either about this new law or any family law type cases? You also practice in criminal law.
Yeah, I do family law and I practice in criminal law. My office phone number is area code 407-772-0000.
Okay.
Or you can email me at worth@williamorthlaw.com. You can visit my website, williamorthlaw.com.
Okay, great. That's going to wrap up this episode with Mr. William Orth and the new law changes that are coming into effect on July 1. If you'd like to find out any more information about this, you can visit thejusticeroom.com or you can visit williamorthlaw.com to get additional information about Mr. William Orth. I'd like to thank you for listening to another episode of The Justice Room.